Hello, welcome to Letters of Paul to the Philippines. There is something haunting about a long walk in chains. In Philippine history, we remember the Death March, Filipino and American soldiers forced to walk mile after mile, beaten, starved, humiliated, not knowing if they would survive the day. Suffering wasn't theoretical. It was step by step, breath by breath. Today, I want to take you on another long march, one that happened 1,900 years ago, but echoes deeply in our Filipino soul. This is the story of Ignatius of Antioch, bishop, disciple, and witness to Christ, who walked all the way to his death. Ignatius lived in Antioch, one of the greatest cities of the Roman Empire. This was no ordinary church. Antioch was shaped by Paul and Barnabas. Peter himself had lived and led there. And it was here, Acts tells us, that the disciples were first called Christians. Ignatius was not just any bishop. He was Peter's second successor, which means when Ignatius speaks, we are hearing the echo of the apostles. But Ignatius gives us something no one else does, a look into the heart of a Christian on the eve of martyrdom. Around AD 110, a short but violent persecution breaks out. Christians are blamed. The bishop is arrested. Ignatius is too important to execute locally. So Rome decides, make a spectacle of him. He is chained to a squad of soldiers, men he bitterly calls 10 leopards. And then the march begins, from Antioch, across Asia Minor, up to the coast of what is now Turkey, all the way to Rome. No quick execution, no mercy. Just like the Death March, this was punishment through exhaustion, fear, and humiliation. And yet, Ignatius walks, not with despair, but with purpose. We often think martyr means victim, but the word martyr means witness. Ignatius did not see himself as defeated. He believed this could only happen by the will of God. And so, chained and guarded, he begins to write letters to Ephesus, Smyrna, Magnesia, Tralles, Philadelphia, and Rome. These letters are his last will and testament. And what burns in every line? Love. John Chrysostom would later say Ignatius had a soul seething with divine eros. Not fear, not bitterness, love. Ignatius knows what awaits him in Rome. Wild beasts, public execution, entertainment for the crowd. And so he begs the Roman Christians, please, do not save me. Listen to these words written by a man walking toward death. Let me be food for wild beasts. I am God's wheat, and I am being grounded by their teeth to become pure bread for Christ. This is not fanaticism. This is discipleship, pushed to its limit. Ignatius believes that to follow Christ fully means to imitate his passion. He says, now I'm beginning to be a disciple. Not at baptism, not at ordination, but at the moment of total self-gift. Ignatius does not die for an ideology. He dies for a person, Jesus Christ, true God and true man. And here Ignatius becomes not just a martyr, but a guardian of the faith. Against those who denied Jesus was God, Ignatius calls him God 16 times. Against those who denied Jesus was truly human, Ignatius insists he was really born, really suffered, really died, really rose. And because Christ had real flesh, the Eucharist is real flesh. He calls it the medicine of immortality. Not a symbol, not a metaphor, life itself. Ignatius also teaches us what the Church is. He is the first to call it Catholic, not as a brand, but as a reality. One church, everywhere, united. Each local church has one bishop, priests, deacons, and the people gathered as one body. Unity mattered because persecution was real. Just as Filipinos survived the death march by holding on to one another, the early church survived by clinging to unity. Nothing, Ignatius says, should be done without the bishop, because unity protects life. As Ignatius nears Rome, he writes something breathtaking. It is a grand thing for my life to set on the world, and for me to rise in God's presence. Like the soldiers of the death march, Ignatius walks toward suffering, but unlike his captors, he knows where the road ends. Not in death, but in resurrection. And his message reaches us today here in the Philippines. Faith is not proven when it is comfortable. Discipleship is not real until it costs us something. Ignatius walked so that we might stand. And now the question is ours. When the road is long, what will our witness be? Thank you for watching. That was another letter of Paul to the Philippines. And let's continue our march as we walk towards discipleship.